All right, welcome back. You know that feeling when you're so absorbed in what you're doing that time just seems to melt away? That's the state of flow. And what if I told you that getting there isn't about luck? It's about engineering it. It's about having a daily protocol.
So, what exactly is flow? Well, look, this isn't some mystical, abstract state. It's literally a neurochemical peak where your brain is completely optimized for performance. And the best part? It's a state we can actually learn to trigger, creating that focus and immersion on demand.
And that's the real challenge, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Our phones are buzzing, notifications are just constantly popping up, and our attention is being ripped into a million different pieces. So, how in the world do you build a fortress of focus in the middle of all that chaos? Well, that's exactly the problem we're going to solve right now. So, here's the game plan. We're going to walk you through a full 24-hour cycle, a complete blueprint for architecting a day of peak performance. We'll kick things off with the morning launch, then dive into the deep work ritual, figure out how to sustain your motivation, and wrap it all up with a nightly brain reset.
All right, let's dive right in. You know how you spend that first hour of your day? It literally sets the trajectory for everything that follows. Get this part right, and you're building this incredible momentum that'll carry you through even the toughest parts of your day.
Okay, so this isn't just some random list of morning chores, all right? Think of it as a powerful launch sequence for your brain. Getting that sunlight for 10 plus minutes, that's what regulates your cortisol, wakes you up, and gives you that mood boost. Hydrating with some electrolytes, that's like turning the key on your metabolism. And yeah, even something as simple as making your bed. That's a small win that builds immediate positive momentum.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. It's all about a battle happening inside your brain for its chemistry. The absolute number one thing you got to do is avoid that fast dopamine. Checking your phone, scrolling social media first thing. Because that creates what's called amotivation, which basically kills your drive to do hard things later. Instead, what we're going to do is lean into what's called limbic friction. That's that feeling of resistance you get right before you tackle something difficult.
So how do we actually win this battle? First off, stick your hardest, most high-resistance tasks right there in the first 8 hours of your day. Get them done. And a cold shower? I know, but it can be a total game changer. It releases this flood of dopamine and epinephrine that just resets your motivation baseline for the entire day. And hey, here's a super simple physical trick. Sit upright and look slightly upward. Just that small change in posture, it actually cranks up your brain's alertness. All right, so we've launched the day. Now let's see how that builds right into the core of it all, the deep work ritual. This is where we stop just hoping for flow to show up and we start making it happen on demand.
So before you even think about starting, you need a pre-flow checklist. Number 1, set a crystal clear goal that's just a little bit outside your comfort zone. Not too easy, not impossible. Number 2, eliminate all distractions. And I mean all of them. Phone in another room, notifications off, the whole deal. And number 3, use a unique sensory cue. This could be a specific song, a scent, a particular sound, something you only use for these deep work sessions. This builds a really powerful neural association.
All right, take a look at this number. -50%. What do you think that could possibly be? A 50% reduction in what? Could possibly have anything to do with intense focus. Any guesses?
It's your blink rate. Yeah, seriously. This is a fantastic little super protocol. When you really need to lock in, consciously reduce how often you blink. Why? Because it turns out your mental focus literally follows your visual focus. You control your eyes, you help control your mind. Simple as that. Okay, but deep work can be pretty intense, right? So if you feel yourself getting agitated or stressed out, you have an instant reset button built right into your body. It's called the physiological sigh. It's 2 quick inhales through your nose and then 1 long, slow exhale through your mouth. This thing immediately, and I mean immediately, calms your nervous system right down. And check this out. Here's an incredible trick for accelerating your learning. Every few minutes or so, just take a 10-second pause. Do nothing. Just stare at the wall. Because in that tiny little window of doing nothing, your brain is replaying the information you just took in at 20 times the normal speed. It's rapidly locking it into your memory. Okay, so you're in the zone, you're crushing it, but how do you stay there? How do you manage your motivation so you don't just completely burn out? Well, it all comes down to understanding this really simple but incredibly powerful neurochemical principle, the dopamine seesaw. The absolute key idea to get your head around is this. Our brains actually get more of a reward from the pursuit of a goal than from actually hitting it.
See, motivation isn't just for the party at the end. It's the chemical that's released to keep us in the game, to keep us moving forward.
So to really understand this, let's use a great analogy. Just imagine your motivation is like a simple playground seesaw. All right, so on one side of this seesaw, you've got dopamine. That's the pleasure, the pursuit, the good stuff. And on the other side, you have the pain of the effort it takes. And your brain's main job is to try and keep these two sides in perfect balance. So here's the crucial part. What happens when you score a huge win and you celebrate like crazy? Well, that seesaw just slams down hard on the dopamine side. And to get back to balance, your brain has no choice but to force a massive swing back in the other direction, toward pain. That's the motivational crash you feel after a huge success. So the trick, the real secret, is to just acknowledge small wins along the way. That keeps the seesaw relatively level and your motivation stable. And finally, we've reached the end of the day. But listen, rest isn't just a passive activity. It's not about just collapsing. Your nightly reset is an active process. It's where all that hard work you put in during the day gets locked in and rewired. The sciencey term for this is neuroplasticity. It's the actual physical strengthening of the connections between your neurons. And here's the part that's gonna blow your mind. This rewiring, this learning, it doesn't actually happen when you're doing the work. It happens during deep rest, especially during states like non-sleep deep rest or NSDR. So that means your evening routine has got to be just as deliberate as your morning one. 3 hours before bed, stop eating. 2 hours out, plan the next day in a notebook. This gets it out of your head, crushes decision fatigue for tomorrow. That final hour, you want to minimize bright lights, especially overhead ones, and a warm shower right before you get into bed. It actually helps cool down your core body temperature, which is a powerful signal to your brain that it's time to sleep. You see, this whole protocol, it's not about a collection of one-off hacks. It's about building a system that makes peak performance predictable. So the real question to leave you with isn't just about what you learned here today, but what comes next? What could you really achieve if flow wasn't an accident, but was your default state?